Are you muted?
I think I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. First, I would like to thank for the opportunity by Dr. Chitra Ramamurthy, the AOS and the Academic Research Committee for having invited me here. So I'll be following up on Dr. Jaspreet Singh's talk on every case of optic neuritis should be extensively imaged and investigated, and my answer is an emphatic no. So I'll be focusing on certain points which are pertinent in this discussion. I'll be focusing on every case. What we are discussing is every case and not selective cases. So I'm against investigating in each and every case. And I'm also against extensive testing. I'm not against basic testing, but I'm against extensive blood workup, which has its own cost issues and other factors which we'll be seeing, which involves a lengthy blood workup. And I'll also be contesting against a lumbar puncture and CSF analysis in every case. Like Dr. Jaspreet Singh himself was mentioning about the McDonald's criteria, which told that MS can be diagnosed by means of MRI with or without CSF findings. So in the first instance, we do not need to do in the initial workup itself. So one thing I will not be contesting against Dr. Jaspreet Singh argument is the need for a contrast enhanced MRI, brain and orbits in every case of optic neuritis, and I'll fully go with them because it's a very mandatory requirement. One caveat in this, supposing the patient is not able to afford in extreme cases, at least a CT scan should be done in case of cost issues, but no imaging is not acceptable. So while arguing this, I would like to call upon the natural history of optic neuritis as per the optic neuritis treatment trial. We know that majority of the typical optic neuritis as per the ONTT recover on their own or with steroids. And they've also found that blood investigations, routine blood investigations, are not helpful in diagnosing or characterizing this optic neuritis. However, I will not contest the fact that a basic blood workup, which is relevant to steroid use in these cases, need to be done like a blood sugar or other basic investigations. And secondly, I would like to characterize what an atypical optic neuritis is, which might require extensive blood workup. So there are clear definitions for atypical optic neuritis, and these are all recurrent optic neuritis, steroid responsive optic neuritis, meaning that they dramatically respond in 1 or 2 days to 6 with IV steroids and eventually become steroid dependent because of that, and bilateral optic neuritis, and those presenting with bilateral optic disc edema. These are all classic definitions of atypical optic neuritis. And in these cases, I am not contesting that we need to extensively investigate these cases. Also, there are clear-cut radiological findings of atypical optic neuritis, which may alert us initially to the suspicion of atypical optic neuritis and the need for extensive testing, like bilateral lesions like this. In these bilateral granulomatous lesions, you can see here, these are sarcoid lesions. And by seeing this imaging itself, we know that we need to investigate for sarcoid, other autoimmune disorders, and perhaps for neuromyelitis optica and anti-MOG. Long segment involvement, more than 50% of the optic nerve involvement. By seeing the radiology itself, we know, okay, this is something abnormal. It is extending more than 50%. Perhaps the intracanalicula as well as the intracranial part and perhaps the chiasmal part, if they get involved, we know it's abnormal. In radiological parlance, they term it as long segment or longitudinal involvement. That's what they call it as, more than 50% involvement. Optic perineuritis is another atypical feature. You can see here, the nerve in the center is clear, whereas there is enhancement of the sheath surrounding, something like a tram track sign, where we might confuse this with meningioma. Yes, optic perineuritis, and also longitudinal extensive spinal cord lesions. In selective cases, when we do spinal cord screening, and if we find this, we know that these patients have to be extensively investigated. So I would like to support my findings with two specific Indian studies, important studies by Dr. Rohit Saxena from AIIMS, who studied 99 eyes of 83 patients over a period of 3 years, and they were followed up for about 10 months. And in their study, all basic blood investigations were normal. They did not yield any specific results, and recurrence was found in only 16% of the cases of atrial bulbar neuritis. 85% did not recur in their case, and 64, majority of the patients recovered with 20/40 vision or more. In another retrospective, another Indian study from a South Indian demyelinating disease registry from Mangalore, 59 patients of first presentation optic neuritis were studied, and they found that 14 patients were monophasic, did not progress. 29 patients developed MS. Again, these did not require extensive blood investigations, and only 13 plus 3, 16 patients required extensive blood investigations. 3 were MMO and 13 were CRAYON, meaning chronic relapsing inflammatory optic neuritis. They only needed extensive blood workup, and only minority of these patients needed extensive blood investigations. So to conclude, I would like to say, if routinely we treat this as optic neuritis with IV steroids, and if they don't recover, we investigate further. If there are recurrent attacks, we investigate. And if there are long cord lesions in MRI, we investigate. And we focus our investigations on the relevance of the investigations. We also have to think of the resource utilization and the time factors involved, and not the least in our Indian setting, the cost factor to the patient has to be kept in mind. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Mahesh. That was a big learning.